Welcome back to another lesson. For my class, this is the sixth and final lesson. There's so many more out there, though, on YouTube that you can go find if you want to learn how to do something in TinkerCad or any other 3D modeling software. But that being said, I want my class to learn how to hollow out an object today. So basically, you're creating a hole, right? So to give you an idea, this is what I want you to create today. So it's basically a pitcher. Right? I didn't put a spout, I just put a hole in it, but that's okay because it serves my purposes. To give you an idea of what it looks like inside, actually I'm just going to slide it over. So without the top, right, it looks like a mug. It's hollowed out, but there's a hole in here for the spout, and then I actually put that right on top with the work plane. I grouped this one together. I ungrouped this one so that you could see what it looked like on the inside with its lid, right? And so if I was going to 3D print this and I wanted two separate ones, I would 3D print the lid separately from the mug itself or the pitcher, whatever you want to call it. But that being said, let me slide it out of the way. Let me show you how I created this. In class, you have the freedom to choose whatever shape you want. So you can follow the same dimensions that I'm going to use, but you can use any one of these shapes. I shouldn't say any one. The cylinder, the box, the octagon, maybe even the what is that? What does they call this thing? But anyway, paraboloid, right? You know, so there's different ones. Where you can have issues is like with the pyramid, things like that. It's not going to work out so well. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and drag not that one. I'm going to drag a cylinder on the work plane, and in terms of my class, I'm going to change it to assignment 6. And I'm going to update the grid to inches down here. So edit grid one more time, click the drop down, select inches, hit update. All right. Then I'm going to drag the ruler on the work plane, which is already here. And again, I like to keep my ruler a little bit away from my shapes because then these dimensions down here, these are just measurements. How far is this cylinder from this circle, basically, where I put the ruler? And then that makes it so that I can see my length, width, and height a lot easier because these numbers aren't in the way. And remember, the 0 is where it is in relation to the work plane. So it's sitting on the floor, so it's at 0. Now, to make this a little bit easier, because what I'm going to do is, I didn't pick this at random, right? I wanted these walls this thick, okay? I wanted them a certain amount of thickness. So to make this a little bit easier to do, I'm going to resize my cylinder. You can use my exact sizes. I suggest just using any whole number. So what I did was I did 4 inches by 4 inches. And again, if you have a cylinder, it does look kind of funky as you're resizing it, but just resize all 3. So I just changed the 1 by 1 by 1 to a 4 by 4 by 4. Now what I'm going to do is use the duplicate tool right up here. We've used this one when we created the stairs 2 assignments ago. Click the duplicate tool and just slide it off to the left. Remember, I'm not going to grab any of these boxes. The corner handles are the white ones or the black ones. They'll resize it. Anytime you want to move a shape, click on the color of that shape itself. You click on a box, that happens, and you don't want that. Hit that undo button. It'll go back to the way it was. So, in order, in terms of the assignment, I wanted the walls 8/10 of an inch thick. 8/10, 0.8. Well, how the heck do I do that? Well, all you have to do is make this cylinder 8/10 of an inch smaller in all 3 dimensions than the left-hand cylinder, the one right here that's 4 by 4 by 4. And I know that middle schoolers, high schoolers, and even adults they can't stand decimals, but imagine that this 4 is $4, and imagine that I want to take 8/10 away from that, which is 80 cents. $4 minus 80 cents gives you, and if you said 320, you are correct. So I'm just going to type 3.2 by 3.2 on my length and width. Now, obviously, my height, I don't want that 3.2 because that would be smaller than the cylinder. I still want to leave the height alone, right? But what I do want is if I went ahead, I got to change this to a hole also, right? So I might as well do that now. But if I went ahead and put these together, the work plane is 0 for both, which means if I grouped them, I wouldn't have a mug like I have here with the bottom in it. I would have a hole all the way through. So I literally need to raise this off the floor 8/10 of an inch, which is just 0.8. Okay. At this point, I can highlight both of these and use the align tool again. Okay, this is why we've been using it. And I want to put it center and center. Completely center it. You might have to move a little bit to get past that measurement right there. Completely centered. Right? Don't try to do it manually. Use the align tool. Make sure both center dots are grayed out. Not the up and down, not the vertical dots. We want that alone. We've already raised it off the ground 0.8 of an inch. If you mess with anything on the right here, these 3 dots, that's going to mess it all up. Okay? And then go ahead and hit the group button once you have these 2 centered and selected, which I do. Hit the group button and right there, boom. Okay? You've got your cup. Don't like the color, go ahead and change it. How about red? Let's go, I don't know, pink lemonade. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a spout in the side. Might as well do this one next. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab the work plane and put it right on the side. Now again, the spout's not at the bottom, so just put it somewhere towards the top. I'm not giving you an exact measurement, but just put the work plane on the side. Come over here and let's figure out what shape you want. Now I used what, the octagon here? No, what did I use? Pentagon. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the pentagon. Let's see, what kind of shape can I use? I can just use the cylinder for this one to give you something different. So I'll do that. I'm going to put the cylinder up towards the top. Now, I want this particular hole, it's in the assignment, I want it at 0.75, okay, 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to go change the 1 and change it to a 0.75 for the height, and I'm going to change the width to 0.75. Let it resize itself, and then just rotate a little bit to the side till you see this black cone. I mean, you can center it if you want, but it's a whole lot easier just to push that black cone through. If you just want to look inside to make sure it came all the way through, that's all you got to do. Highlight the 2 of these, group them together. And just like that, you now have that spout. Okay? Now, I had a handle on the back. I found though that if I put the handle on the back, that extends the size, and so I don't want to put the handle on now. I want to put the handle on after I put the lid on. So to put the lid on, you actually have to put the work plane on the top. Now, before we do that, let's take a look at the size again. If you did the same measurements that I had, it's 4 inches in length and 4 inches in width, right? 4 by 4. So when I go ahead and bring the work plane over here, I'm going to put it literally right on top because that's where I want it to sit. I'm not going to guesstimate. I'm not going to try to raise it up. I'm going to put the work plane right on the top of my new cup, my pitcher, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to decide what type of a lid do I want. I went with the cone here. I'm going to go with, how about the half sphere? And I'm going to drag the half sphere over and just drop it right on top. Now you notice it's not the same size, but we checked our size of this before. It was 4 by 4. So I'm going to change the dimensions from 1 by 1 to 4 by 4. All right. I'm going to go ahead and change the color to, how about a light blue? How about that? Perfect. It's like a baby thing, right? So now I'm going to highlight both of these, and I'm going to use the align tool to center it. And this is part of the requirement too. I'm going to put a center dot and a center dot. Okay? And now I've got the lid on the pitcher. At this point, I want you to group it together so that when you put the handle on, the lid doesn't move. Go ahead and hit the group button, and then click your color and change it back to multicolor. And go ahead and drop the work plane back down on the ground so you can see your work. See that? So now if I move this, it's all together. And it's okay that it's grouped together. I'll be able to take that lid off and take a look inside, right? So, at this point, we want to put a handle in. Now think about the pitchers you've had iced tea or lemonade or Kool-Aid or whatever else has been in a water. The handle is always on the opposite side of the spout. So let's just flip around to the opposite side of the spout, right? Which is right about here. I can slide this guy out of the way. And I'm going to put the work plane on the back. Now, I don't care what kind of handle you use. I will show you how I did my handle. My handle was nice and simple. It was grabbing a red box and putting it on here. And I made that box, I believe, 3 inches tall, because my whole picture is just a little over 4 inches tall with the lid on it. What happened? 3. There we go. And then what I did was I actually aligned it and put it in the center. Just like that. And it's okay. It raised it off the ground, but that's all right. And then I'm going to make this just a little bit wider. So how about 2 inches wide? At this point, I can't really pick it up because it's solid, so we got to cut a hole in the center. So now I'm going to change the work plane again. Put the work plane on the side. And then, yeah, we'll use a box. I'm going to put the box on here. I'm going to make that box about 2 inches tall. Was that how tall it was before? How about 1.5? All right. Now I'm going to highlight just these two. I'm going to align it, and I'm going to put it in the center. Okay. Now at this point, I want to make sure that this can go all the way through. So if I rotate to the side, you see that arrow there. If I push it, it's not going to go all the way through. So I'm going to need to make it a little bit longer. So how about 2 inches long? Doesn't really matter because it's going to disappear here in a second. There we go. Now I can push it through the side. I mean, you could do that from the front too. It's just hard to see that cone. Now highlight these two and group it together. And now you got your handle. I don't really like a red handle with pink and blue. About yellow. It's like an Easter mug, Easter picture. And then I'm going to highlight all 3 of them, and I'm going to group them together. Multicolor was already selected when I put the lid on, so multicolor stays. And that's it. I'm done. Now again, you can use all kinds of things. I've seen students use the heart, rotate the heart sideways. And the heart becomes an absolute awesome picture. You can cut half of it out and then hollow it out. Go for that if you want. You can use the scribble tool and draw one on. I don't care what your handle looks like. What I want is a hollowed out picture with 8/10 of an inch walls. I want a 3/4 of an inch, 0.75 inch hole. I want the lid put on top with the work plane. Center it, okay? Group it together. And then I want some sort of a handle put on the side used with the work plane. Okay, I shouldn't see any separation between the two. Then group the whole thing together and make sure the multiple colors are showing. Unless you used all one color. If you used all one color, that's fine. When I ungroup it, it'll tell me. Okay? And then make sure it says assignment 6 and make sure you have the grid and inches. And that's it. Any questions in class, let me know. Maybe I'll see you back here again next time. Have a great one.